Hey, what's up, guys? Scary Monsters. I'm not really gonna go through this too much in depth because I want you to get it. I want you to buy it. I want you to support these people. Uh, one of the few monster magazines or classic monster magazines that's on the shelves. Okay, the dwindling bookstores. Of course, you can get a subscription, and it's probably the way to go. In the end, for the older people that we still want, there's still something in their hands. Said I want you to get it, so I'm not gonna go too in depth. There's always a theme to each issue. I think the last, I think summer, I think the theme was like UFO aliens, from the 50s, like the different aliens. And this one is with the horrible hag, right? Probably more realistic, far more realistic. A danger to us in many ways. As usual, the magazine is formed voluntary submissions for monster kids by monster kids. And it has a fine line between like a fanzine and a more professional magazine. So you get all people sending photos, stories, really interactive. Like I guess the monster kids were back in the day. Of course, you're always gonna have the dreaded double-edged sword of nostalgia. So I remember going over my Halloween memories a couple of years ago, and they were kind of, I guess you jaundiced, to say the least. But also, I do remember the time fondly as a little kid. So now, well, right, exactly. It's the end of the world. Or should I say the Untergang des Abendlandes. But, you have people remembering the trick-or-treating, the costumes, these masks, these rims on the inside used to cut the skin around the flesh around your eyes. Right? So you always get articles like this. Of course, then we get into the theme, right? The attack of the grannies. Basically, when the actress gets older, she plays like witches, right? She plays villainesses. She plays psychopaths. All these kind of campy films that now survive as like drag queen cliches or whatever. She was always a nut. Was she ever? When she was younger, I don't remember her as younger. She always seemed to look like this. But yeah, really well done going over it. Like I said, remember that? I hated that movie. I hate To Kill a Mockingbird. Wonder why. Of course, the famous whatever happened to Baby Jane. Interesting. I didn't know that she did a movie where she was twins. That's always interesting how they do that. So, of course, Straight Jacket. Shelley Winters, you gotta mention. Kind of always kind of crazy. I don't remember her being like a young starlet or anything, but my memory is starting to fade a little bit, perhaps. This I remember. This was, I think, was this a TV movie? Yes, it was. Right, the 70s TV horror, right? The TV movie horror. There's a lot of impressive films in the 70s. I keep saying the 70s is the sweet spot of horror, going into the early 80s, I'd say. For me, anyway. So, of course, the story of Lizzie Borden, I think we all know, right? They never proved that she was found innocent of killing her parents with an axe. Here you get a very suffragette evoking scene. I always thought she was hot, man. So Bewitched, right? Anyway, just getting into the theme of witches. And it's not all about that. You got Kaiju Corn is always popular. Real quick, very interesting. Kenji Sahara is still alive, right? One of the Toho's, like Hammer, like Shaw Brothers, like all the other studios. The actors and the actresses were prolific. You'd see them in every film playing different roles, and he did that, right? He was this capitalist pig here. Remember Matango? He was like this guy. He had the working class kind of, shifty guy. And of course, he was the comedy relief in King Kong vs. Godzilla, doing what an actor's supposed to do. And he's still alive. Good going. obviously everything's passing away, but also to show you, and this is what I'm saying. If you, let's say you don't like the theme of Scary Monsters magazine, there's so much other information in there. It's for the price you pay. It's packed. It comes out 4 times a year. The very unsung idea of German horror cinema. You could argue that the real serious horror films, the first ones, right, are from Germany. Okay? The expressionist horror, going over a lot of things here. Okay? Heinz Ewers. Yeah, the macabre. I mean, listen, German, everything from the German idealism, philosophy, the writings, even the Goethe, very macabre. Some of the most macabre horror, dark stuff you'll find. So there's an interesting article going over not only the silent period. In this film, I never heard of this. Right? Unheimliche Geschichten, right? The Living Dead. Or love that expressionist. Look at that. A film that I never heard of, starring the great Paul Wegener. Right? He played the Gollum. He played a lot of things. He played the communist leader in a certain. Oh, let me not mention that. Anyway, but it's interesting how, of course, they go into the 30s. Right? You get into the fantastic films they did. They go post-war now. Of course, pretty much after the war. Right? The German films. There's not much of an industry, but they did have these kind of films, these criminal film krimis, right? But based on Edgar Wallace novels, they're kind of like Batman villains, but with just being fought by detectives or something. Pretty macabre, right? It makes his point. The inspired the Giallo films later, which of course I'm a huge fan of as well. Of course, there's not many of them. Oh, Karen Dor, very beautiful. I like this. I like this article here. Maybe I get a little too in depth, so forgive me. But go out and buy this. The resulting film, right, was a valiant attempt at reviving German-made chillers for international market, according to Reinhold. The horror film was born in Germany. From here, it went around the world, one after another. There was an American, an English, a Japanese, and finally an Italian horror film wave. The genre was not cherished here for decades. We must first recreate for ourselves the horror we once taught the world. Of course, she's talking about films. Yeah, Karen Dor, man, she was beautiful. And going in the 70s, of course, the Germans, they were somehow the Germans had money, right? After the decades, it was hard work. And Paul Nash, I love all these films. They were produced by Germans. Most of the money, I think, was German. But they had some of these crazy, like The Vampire Happening. I have that on DVD. I never saw it. This film I meant to see, right? About a vampires take over, like, I guess there's like a kingdom of vampires and they rule the people in like the early 19th century. This is on YouTube for free, so I'd like to check it out. At one point, just have not gotten around to it. And they bring up all these allusions to a certain regime, but obviously the allegory and atmosphere is surprisingly underplayed. Well, yeah, because this is the 19th century. The vampires are aristocrats. They're not trying to make an allegory for something else, which enough people have done. Oh, it's filmed in Bavaria. Nice. So it's probably got a really good scenery. I want to check that film out. So anyway, we're getting to the end here. Of course, Germany now is mostly known for the DIY films, the Andreas Schnaas, was it George Buttergeit, Olaf Ittenbach. I have a mixed feeling about those films, okay? And I'm a guy that's a DIY guy. I like video. I like the idea of the German gore films made by kids, like teenagers running around with a cheap video recorder. It's a big thing in Germany. I don't know if it still is, but it's like the nihilism in them, amongst other elements, I'm not really fond of, let's say. But anyway, I like the fact that you cover all these things. Of course, Creepshow, the great Creepshow. And this guy, particularly a guy based in a movie theater in Reading, Pennsylvania, okay, which is it's not. It's foothills outside of Philly. It's like an hour to get to Philly from Reading. So, and, there's more memories. One of the things I liked about this article here was the whole idea of all of the themes we think of, right? All the movements in film. A lot of this stuff behind the scenes of, essentially, the studios were not allowed to own the theaters anymore. These guys wanted all the money. Right? And so basically, and aiming at the new demographic called the teenager. Always the war. Oh. Anyway, just of course in the back you have a lot of stuff. The next issue looks cool. Blackula, great film. I should cover that film. That is an excellent film. Okay, and particularly the '70s vampire films, which Blackula is one of them. The '70s vampire films, man. There's so many good ones. Really, really good. But in general, let me wrap this up. So recommended. Get this, man. If you're you think, well, how much can you go over all this stuff? There's always something new I find out here. There's always something interesting. And like you said, you might as well enjoy it now, because it is not going to probably survive another decade. Amongst other things. Decade. Maybe I'm being a little generous. Anyway. Enjoy the Halloween season as much as you can.